Obaidullah Baheer in Islamabad. He's a lecturer of transitional justice at the American University of Afghanistan. Obaidullah, good to have you on the program with us. We just heard from our correspondent there in Kabul that this is a remote area of Afghanistan. What do you know about the region where this struck? Is it particularly vulnerable to earthquakes, and what might be some of the challenges that rescuers are facing as they try to reach people who've been affected?
Thank you for having me. Devastating news coming out of Afghanistan. The Afghanistan has always lied on fault lines, so it has been prone to earthquakes. The problem with the areas that it hit in Paktika and Khost is most of these areas are like valleys. They grow pine nuts on the mountains, but they live in the valleys themselves. With the earthquake, one of the major problems was that landsliding happened, and these houses obviously aren't built as sturdy as you would find within major urban areas. So the loss of life has been huge so far. We're trying to get an assessment of what is actually happening on the ground. So if nothing else, we can at least provide emergency aid for the families and the injured in the hospitals, so they can sustain themselves for the next few days at least.
Obviously, the humanitarian situation in Afghanistan has been very difficult since the Taliban seized control a year ago. How much of a blow do you think that this earthquake, to the already dire humanitarian situation there?
I mean, we're already at rock bottom, and this just makes things even worse for families that barely had sustenance, that merely survived off the land and off the poultry that they had. They would be deprived of that. They would be displaced internally until their houses are rebuilt. And that too in a situation where the current Taliban regime is not as established where an emergency relief response can be given. So we see helicopters and we see them attempting to respond to the situation, but we hope that it can be of the capacity and scale that is required in this area.
Yeah, and I did want to ask that. Does the Taliban, you think, have the capability and capacity to provide aid, the type of aid that's needed in this situation?
I mean, something that the Taliban really, really can do and is important at this point is when if they become the center for information disbursement. So I am trying to acquire information. So are a few other organizations trying to understand what's happening on the ground. If the Taliban, through organized bodies, can decimate and spread information with regards to which areas are most hit and what is required specifically, then the funds are there, the organizations are there, and they're willing to help. There are so many Afghans outside Afghanistan that are already contacting me, trying to figure out ways to help those who have been hit by the earthquake. So, if nothing else, even if they don't have the funds, they can at least become the hub of connection and information sharing amongst different groups who are trying to make a difference.
All right, Obaidullah Baheer joining us from Islamabad. Thank you.